podcast. I am Tim, and with me is my co-host Patrick. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. Nick's lost. A little sad about that.
Yeah.
But only game one. Let's go! Nick's back.
That's true. It was a respectable loss. I'm okay with it. Yeah. They hung the whole time, playing good team. So anyway, we had our weekly traditional horror movie weekends. And
Week 3.
3, buddy. And so we knocked out some movies, and we had a weaker weekend.
Yeah, another tie, and not the good kind.
Not a good kind of tie. Yeah, because at least I feel like even if one of us has a bad pick, but someone has a good pick, that's still a better weekend than both having subpar picks.
Doesn't happen often, but yeah.
It doesn't.
Two stinkers.
Yeah, and I think one of them we probably should have saw coming, and the other one was probably just a bad pick. Going with my gut, but
yeah, well, so the first one we watched was Insidious: The Red Door, the 5th entry into the Insidious franchise.
Yeah,
and yeah, the reviews were not kind, but I had seen all the other Insidious movies, and I had made sure that Tim had watched the first 2 this year because I had higher hopes.
And I already watched the first one back in the day. This was like the first time, kind of.
Right.
Yeah. Watching the second one, reintroducing myself, that kind of stuff.
Once I saw the reviews for the movie, I didn't have dragged Tim to the theater to go see the new one. I was like, we can wait on this. And I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
Because, nah.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not bad. It's just not.
No, it is bad.
It's not particularly great.
It's not good. The problem is that so the end of the first movie, the people who have gone through the supernatural trauma,
right,
of it all, the father and son, are hypnotized to forget everything.
Right.
So this new movie picks up back on the thread.
Right. This is the second movie. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, this happens at the end of the second movie. So picking back up into the 5th movie because the last 2 movies, 3 and 4, are prequels. They just like the whole first hour and 20 minutes of this movie, and it's like almost 2-hour movie, is spent on them trying to figure out the mystery of what happened to them that caused them this trauma they can't quite put a finger on.
Yeah, even though all of us know
we know exactly what happened because we saw the movies. So it's like, I don't know. This is the same reason why I always bumped off of Columbo episodes. Like, there's no mystery here. I know what happened. I'm just watching you figure it out.
Right.
It's not particularly interesting to me.
You're just having a fun time with Columbo.
At least with Columbo, I'm watching Peter Falk, bounce off of like some stupid criminal who's like, he's screwed. This time it's like, it's just, there's no Columbo and it's just demons who are the bad guys. So they don't care that you figured out or not.
Yeah. And there's not any particularly inventive, creative, spooky things that particularly happened in this movie. I think you said at one point there was something towards the beginning that did make you jump once.
Yeah.
I didn't jump, but there was other than that, because even sometimes because we don't jump often, but there's still times even when we don't jump, we could be like, oh man, that was pretty freaky looking, or like, oh, that was creepy or something. Like we could still give like credence to what we're looking at, even though it didn't make us jump or something. I
don't know how much it actually made me jump and how much I wanted it to.
Well, maybe.
I think there was probably just like one scene that I was like, that was all right.
It's not great. There's not a whole lot there, man.
Yeah, Patrick Wilson directs his first movie. And clearly a veteran in the Wanverse.
Yeah.
Star of the first 2 movies. Also, like all the Conjuring movies.
And he's good, man. He's a good actor. I like him.
He's a very good actor. He's not James Wan. And that's always a problem. Like, if you were picking up where James Wan left off, good luck. It's a tall
James Wan's, no matter what, is going to give you something creative to look at that you're like, wow, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, even if it doesn't scare you, there's going to be like, wow, that was a really cool shot. Or, like, you're trying stuff. It's very creative.
Well, like, even in that remember that first Annabelle movie? Where, like, this movie isn't very good, but there was, like, this one scene in like,
the elevator scene.
Yeah, they're like, wow, this is great. Why is this great and everything else is bad? Oh, this is the one scene that James Wan directed. Now it makes sense.
Yeah. Clearly the best part of that movie, yeah.
There's a lot of storytelling reasons why this movie just doesn't work at all. Like I said, the central conceit of watching them unravel a mystery we already know the answer to, putting Rose Byrne on the back burner for the whole movie, even though she was, you want to call her the co-lead
Major
or
character.
60% the lead in the first two movies.
Yeah,
it's like sure.
And then again,
so you're just missing it.
The ending part of the movie is one of them having to going under to save the other one.
Which is what happens in all the movies. But
yeah, so it's like, all right, we've kind of done this already, but there was nothing that scary or menacing that they're seeing on the other side this time around, I feel.
Yeah, same demons as we got in the first one. In the first two
they're
movies.
reusing the same dude and stuff. Yeah. So it's kind of like, all right, like.
Oh, the red-faced demon is back. Cool.
Right.
Except he's darker and less red.
Less scary, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at points you get some flashback stuff. They try to introduce this kind of sidekick character.
Yeah, everything going on in college is like, eh.
Yeah. It was a bummer. It was because when they did kind of reunite, right? Is that what it was?
In the further?
It is kind of. I feel like there was a moment in the movie where you were like, okay, this should have been the beginning of the movie right here. Like
it definitely should have gotten to action in the further a lot faster than it did, because a lot of this movie is just them either one discovering they have the ability to go this other place, or denying it, and having hallucinations while they're walking around being awake. So it's like,
and there was a couple.
Keep on
of
hammering
times,
this one point over and over again.
There was a couple of times with Patrick Wilson. One time towards the beginning in the cemetery, in his car, and then another time later on when he's trying to do the memory game. That they're trying to be like, oh, there's something here in the background. Do you notice it yet? And there's never a payoff.
Not a good one.
Yeah, none of those moments have a payoff to it.
Yeah.
So just a letdown. It's not great.
And by the way, this is the only stinker in the franchise. Like the first two movies are great movies, especially the second one in my opinion. But the third and the fourth movie, which have Lin Shaye, who died in the first movie, front and center, are also a lot of fun.
She's in this movie.
Yeah, she pops up real quick. Yeah.
Do you know she's in the poster? I didn't notice that.
I'm not surprised. She was this was her franchise for two movies. It belonged to her.
She's like the background character figure in the poster of the movie. It's kind of weird. Because I'm looking at the poster and
there she is back there.
Son,
but
the wife is somehow in this poster, which is weird with the red door. But anyway,
about as much screen time, yeah.
Yeah, and she's in the background. It's bizarre.
Well, she was the star of the last two movies, so it makes sense if you were a fan of the Insidious franchise. You want to check out this fifth entry. We're not going to call it 5 because we stopped doing that after the third one. We stopped numbering the chapters after 3.
Right.
It's like she has to be here because it's her franchise. And anyway, just didn't work at all.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Then we watched a new release on Shudder, a fantastic streaming app for horror movies exclusively.
Yes, that is
true. Don't own Shudder, you're missing out. Great stuff.
Yeah, Shudder is and I was really skeptical at first. And I swear, sometimes when because again we do this every year, where every weekend we watch these horror movies, and I'm always skeptical, and then you pull out some Shudder movie, and I'm like, wow, that was really good. Didn't see that coming, kind of deal. And I had some picks ready to go, and I think 2 out of maybe all 3, maybe all the movies actually that I was thinking about watching were all Shudder movies, but this movie is the one that came out the weekend we were watching, and so I got convinced let's go with the new one, and that was Night of the Hunted.
A cool premise.
Everyone is a target.
It's a good premise. Woman just is in a convenience store, and all of a sudden a sniper just starts popping out on everybody in the store.
Yeah.
And he is talking to her over a walkie-talkie. She is the target, and she doesn't know why.
Doesn't know why, but it seems like everybody is a target, and they kind of leave you in the dark of, is this person really out for you, or you're just being difficult to hit?
No question he was out for her because he knew her name. But he doesn't know why.
Yeah, that's true. Why? Right.
Is it because she's having an affair? Is it because of where she works? Is it because of something else that she might have just pissed this guy off for some reason?
Am I your husband or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Was I hired by your husband? Was I screwed by your company? Was I working at your company and you screwed me? Don't know. But we never actually find out, which is a tad annoying, but was expected by the time they were stringing you along.
To be honest, I felt this mixture of I was annoyed that you don't find out, and a mixture of I feel like if I was told, they wouldn't have been able to pull it off.
It wouldn't have been satisfying anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like whatever at this point, which is I feel like is not a feeling you're gonna want from an end of a movie.
And despite, the solid premise, and it is solid, there's a lot of dull points in the movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just like sitting around and just talking on a walkie-talkie.
And people just get shot.
Yep.
That's about it. Like there's not a whole lot of creativeness to this.
Yeah, it takes a long time for him to get off that sniper's perch. And the movie kind of knows what, once he gets off it, the movie's got to get into its, ending. So it's just delaying the inevitable for the longest time.
Yeah. It's like a bad version of Phone Booth.
Yeah, that's a movie I talked about a bunch for watching the movie. Like, hey, you know what we did this better? Phone Booth. Phone Booth was great.
Yeah. It's not like anybody was particularly bad or anything. It's just
no bad performances.
There was no fun.
Yeah.
There was no fun in this movie. It just was funless. And that's kind of a big. It was boring, fun. Patrick. That's the number one issue that anybody could be is boring.
Yeah, like you said, just like a ton of dull parts of just like, just talking, chatting on a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, immediately regretting like, oh man, I should have went with one of my original picks. Like, dang it.
Yeah, this is it was a solid premise and it had a good trailer, so it seemed like fun.
And it just came out. There wasn't enough reviews. There was not enough like information to go off, and oh well, took a chance.
You were wishy-washy on your other picks too.
I was, because there's one movie that I'm really interested in that like at the same time I'm like I'm not completely sold on the trailer, and there's another movie that I'm worried is like too artsy and might end up being boring, and so I'm kind of stuck still with my last pick because as we were saying like Five Nights at Freddy, this last weekend's coming up, Five Nights at Freddy comes out. Should that be my pick? And I think, everybody should go check it out, see what it's about. But at the same time, it's PG-13. And that's some suspect stuff for me for horror right there. You're rated PG-13. I'm not sold.
There's been some good PG-13 horror movies.
There has been, but it's way more rare.
Well, I'm excited for this week. Spoiler.
Yeah.
One of the movie I'm picking is When Evil Lurks, premiering on Shudder.
Okay. Yeah, and that's foreign, right?
Yep, it is.
You don't usually do that for me because usually I'm all a dud about foreign. So I'll take it on the problem on me.
Well, the reviews, the buzz on it is like out of this world.
I've been seeing a lot of it on Twitter, on the horror Twitter and stuff. Like a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, it's this Argentinian possession movie, and it's supposed to be gnarly. So I'm looking forward to watching it. Premieres on Shudder on Friday.
It almost sounds like a possession meets zombies type of idea.
I haven't even watched the trailer or anything for it.
I haven't either, but I just some of the
gnarly.
Premise stuff I'm reading, it almost sounded like that. So it sounds really interesting.
I've been trying to avoid getting any more information because I want to walk in surprised.
Fair enough. And again, as usual, I'm still up in the air. I'm pretty positive I'm not going to go with Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I just don't know yet. Whatever.
Just watch that on my own at some point, just like the Terrifying movies.
Same.
I'll get to it when I get to it.
It's streaming right away, so
yeah. I never played the games. Did you?
No, and I'm tempted because they're relatively cheap. They're not expensive games at all, but I'm always kind of wishy-washy because like I could buy them and get them on the Switch, but do I want that to be played when my kids are around? I don't know how kid friendly it is, but at the same time,
Probably not very.
But they write these books that are almost geared towards children.
Really?
Yeah. So that also makes me like, well, are they kid appropriate then? So I don't really know.
I don't know, man. It's definitely, I miss this generational divide here on this movie. I didn't.
Yeah,
I missed
it too. I'm curious to check it out though, for real though, eventually. And I also want to say too, the Goosebumps, the new Goosebumps series came out.
Yeah.
And so there was one point where the kids were, it was like a Friday, and I thought the kids would have been kind of doing their thing and eating their junk food and stuff, because usually we let them get fast food and stuff like that on a Friday. And so they wouldn't leave me alone. They wanted to hang out with me. So I was like, all right, well, if you're going to hang out with me, then I'm going to, it's spooky season. We're going to do something.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell them. I just threw on Goosebumps. So I just turned it on. The new series, by the way, not the the old stuff that we watched back in the day. But anyway, I threw it on, and I was kind of like taken back by it, because I was expecting the same kind of
goofiness.
Yeah, the goofy
Jack Black
cornball
goofy,
style, right? Of the Jack Black movie, or even the original TV show that was like on like Fox on Saturdays and stuff. Like that's kind of what I was thinking it was gonna be like, and it wasn't. It took itself way more seriously than I was expecting. Not that it was like scary or anything, but it was way more, I don't know, young adult looked than I was expecting. And I was like, oh, this might not work then for my children, because I think Monster Squad is more kid friendly than this. And so at least there's jokes and stuff going on.
I don't know.
Monster Squad,
I showed the trailer to Monster Squad to a 7-year-old girl, and she did not last long.
Yeah, I didn't think she would. But I guess too, it's different depending on everybody's kind of point, right? Like some kids are more able than other kids, right? But
we were a special breed.
We were a special breed, but yeah. So I don't know. We watched it, but because it was more adultish and like plot almost driven, like my kids got bored and they eventually walked away.
Oh well. You know what else? You know what's actually great? Fall of the House of Usher. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, absolutely recommend. Mike Flanagan rules.
Mike Flanagan does rule. I only got to watch the first episode. I liked the first episode a lot. I still gotta get it's hard to find the time. But yeah, I definitely need to finish that. I love Flanagan.
Yeah.
Even my wife, who is not a spooky person at all, loved his last show. And watched
Midnight Mass.
Yeah. Yes, Midnight Mass, which was fantastic.
Yep.
All right, man. I think that's it for Spooky Episode.
Yep.
Please show your support for the podcast by leaving a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, wherever you happen to listen to the show. Also, sharing is caring. Be sure to follow us on social media to get the latest show updates. You can contact us by emailing at filmbrochamp@gmail.com or find us by searching for the hashtag filmbrochamp. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Film Bro Champ podcast. Peace out, everyone.
Spooky season!